Welcome to Around the Kingdom. I'm Eric Lopez. No Trace Troco. He is in his traditional bowl preparation, which means leaving the state. But have no fear. We got a fill-in, ladies and gentlemen. Look who it is. It's Brian W.P. Peterson, my good friend, the CM Punk of the Sons of UCF Network. But what's going on?
One might say that it's that time again, Elo. I'll do my best to fill in for Trace.
It is that time again, which means it's that time. It's bowl game. We're going to talk all about the UCF bowl game, signing day. Is it still relevant? And much more coming up on this show with Brian W. Peterson, a fellow Dolphin fan, or still with us. He's not a Dolphin fan. In fact, he's a Cowboy fan. So we're technically against each other this week. But none other than Adam Eaton joining us here.
Pleasure to be back. I'm glad to see Trace is taking advantage of this liberal Sons of UCF PTO time. I'm really glad he's enjoying his holiday time this year. But I can't wait to see you two combatants mix it up and have some fun tonight on a holiday edition of Around the Kingdom.
Ooh, holiday edition. Let's get going on it. Brian, let's start. Wednesday is National Signing Day. UCF will have its greatest recruiting class ever. Depending on where you look for your rankings, UCF's anywhere between the 25 to 35 range. The question, though, it's very down low. All the focus on the transfer portal and things like that. Is this signing class as important as it used to be?
I don't know that you can argue that it's as important as it used to be with the portal and NIL, coming into the fold as they have in these last few seasons. We've seen the players come and go at their leisure, at their will nowadays. So it's probably not as important as it used to be, but I still think that it is the foundation of our program, right? Gus is going to go out and he's going to find the best players and bring in the best class, which he has done year after year since he took the head coaching job at UCF. It is important. I don't know that it's as important as it once was, though.
I do think it's still very important, and I still think it's very critical because as we've found out, and we're going to get to it as this learn more and more, the transfer portal is about dollars and cents, literally. And UCF doesn't have that right now. So their best opportunity is to hit it in this recruiting in the high school level, bringing in the young talent. I think, Brian, this recruiting class is actually one of the most important in program history because this is the class that I think will set the tone for how successful UCF will be in the Big 12 in the years to come.
Not only is it important, Elo, it's important for Gus and the staff to be able to retain those players that they do bring in and sign, right? So going back to that NIL perspective in the portal, they have to be able to keep players on the roster once they've signed them.
No doubt. And that comes with playing time. You're not going to keep everybody. But remember, signing classes, you're not going to hit on everybody, but you need to hit enough. But ideally, you hit enough on your signing class, and then the transfer portal is where you fill out the weak spots. That's ideal. But UCF's got to build this roster up, and this has to live up to the hype if they want to be a contender in the Big 12.
That's true. And you bring up a good point, the transfer portal. And, one of the questions we've all been asking is, why hasn't UCF been able to find a quarterback or sign a quarterback from the transfer portal yet, right? There were questions about McCall potentially coming in and signing with the Knights. Last week, there was lots of rumors. He ended up going to NC State. And UCF is still on the hunt for a potential quarterback to find in the portal. Rumors are starting to pop up. Perhaps KJ Jefferson out of Arkansas is a potential name that could wind up at UCF next year. But has Gus not been able to close on getting a transfer quarterback to come in? What are your thoughts?
First of all, I love the fact you're bringing in rumors and innuendo to this show. I like it.
Hey, you know what?
Speculation, baby. I love that. But here's the thing. What I'm saying.
Reckless speculation.
It's reckless. Well, that's what we do here at Sons of UCF. I've learned. Look, I'm going to say this. I think it's unfair to say Gus can't close. I just don't think he has enough. You're going up against other schools that just have more income. And unfortunately, I feel like at times UCF's being used maybe as leverage. And the quarterback position, in particular in the transfer portal, is expensive because there's tons of quarterbacks in the market. Look at Oregon. With Phil Knight, they just got Dylan Gabriel and a freshman kid from UCLA coming over, but they can bring out money. There's been rumors that Ohio State is trying to offer Marvin Harrison first-round NFL money to stay at Ohio State instead of going to the NFL draft. You know this, bro. UCF can't compete with that. You had Gus Malzahn was in this press conference a couple of weeks ago talking about the kingdom, and there's been so much chatter about that. Is it, or, Trace asked him, or where you at where you need to be from that standpoint? He's like, it's a work in progress. I just don't think he has the funds. I've made this comparison, Brian. I'll use a baseball analogy. I feel like UCF's kind of like the Tampa Bay Rays. You're going to have to outsmart people. You're not going to outspend the Yankees and the Dodgers. And I feel like UCF's in that boat right now.
It's Moneyball, right? Trace has mentioned it several times in the past. It's Moneyball. UCF has to be efficient with their dollars that they have coming in for NIL spending. And I think they're still trying to find that balance between, what do we pay a quarterback? What do we pay an offensive lineman? What do we need as far as players that are coming through the transfer portal? So it's a learning process. And I think they're still trying to figure that out, right? So I'm curious to see if Gus is able to secure a quarterback, if he's able to bring one in, or do we wind up sticking with Timmy as our QB1, right? He's had a lot of practice in this past year, getting a lot of QB1 reps while JRP was hurt. Does he fill in for QB1 in the coming year, or do we see Gus go ahead and secure a portal? Mike made the comment this week that coffee is for closers. And I don't think that they've been able to close on a quarterback yet, right? Shuck got away. He was a potential name, and then McCall, and we'll see what Gus is able to come up with.
That's Mike, by the way, on Sons UCF podcast. Check it out right now on all your feeds. I will say this. The portal closes January 2nd. There's still a lot of time here. Still a lot of time. I think we're kind of rushing to conclusions here. Well, there's still time in January. We get guys that'll probably enroll in January and take a look. So I would say that. But you mentioned Timmy McClain, Brian W. Peterson. He is, after all, perhaps the incumbent quarterback. He did start last year. They actually moved the ball with him. Or would you be okay, Brian W. Peterson, if Timmy McClain ends up being the starter in opening night on 2024 season?
I think that Timmy certainly has the talent and the tools to be our quarterback in 2024. My concern would not necessarily be with Timmy being the starter. It would be the depth behind him, right? We haven't had a quarterback stay healthy in a couple seasons now. So if that trend tends to play out, do we find a situation where Timmy is potentially injured and we're having to go to QB2? Who is our QB2 going to be in that case, right? I would like to see some depth behind him if possible. Timmy certainly is talented enough to win us plenty of games in 2024. He's got a great arm. He throws a great deep ball. But what's going to happen if he gets hurt? Questions to be answered.
That is a valid point. I think that's why, again, don't be surprised if they add a quarterback around January, maybe. And there's another one in the spring that could always add. But I'm okay with Timmy McClain. I think we mentioned this Moneyball theory. If you're UCF, are you not better off perhaps spending whatever resources you have on other positions of need, whether it is to keep guys like RJ Harvey or maybe upgrade the offensive line or upgrade the defensive side of the ball and maintain McClain? And I get the sense, Brian, I don't know if you agree with me on this. It feels to me for Gus or UCF, they're looking for a quarterback for a bridge cap next year. And I think the long-term goal is 2025 when this recruiting class that's just going to be signed on Wednesday will be a year older. You're going to add another strong class, you would think. Look at the news that kind of went under the radar recently with Colson reclassifying to be part of this class, the young phenom quarterback that's the most touted quarterback recruiting-wise, if you're into that, ever at UCF. Between him and Dylan Risk and Trio, one of those young quarterbacks should be your quarterback. That should be the goal. They should be your starting quarterback in 2025 when I think is the year to circle as far as UCF perhaps realistically being a contender for the Big 12 if all these young talent comes to fruition. So I feel like this is a bridge gap year that they're trying to kind of fill.
No, I don't disagree. I think that Gus has shown that, right? He went after McCall, who was on his final year of eligibility. KJ Jefferson is a name that's popped out there. He's a graduate as well, so you'd only get 1 year out of him. So I think the staff is definitely looking at finding somebody as a stopgap for 2024. Now, I'm on the record saying I don't think 2024 is going to be any better of a season for the Knights than 2023 was. I think we're going to have our struggles. Finding a talented quarterback would certainly help us to kind of fill in some of that gap and maybe make sure that 2024 isn't as rough a season as maybe I think it's going to be. But speaking of 2024, before we get to that, why don't we talk about 2023, which is the Gasparilla Bowl, which we have coming up here, right? And that brings extra practices, that brings extra opportunities for guys to get reps. But does a win or loss really have an effect on that 2024 season? If we go out and we win this Gasparilla Bowl, it'd be great. But if we have a loss, does it really have an impact on us?
No. And I think the first evidence of that, Brian, we've gone 10 minutes into this show before even bringing up the bowl game. That would not have been the case years ago. Would you agree with that? But I think you would agree the bowl game is probably third most important thing this week behind, the signing day and the transfer portal, however you want to rank it. I think a UCF fan would not care if they lost the bowl game if they felt good about, hey, we're going to get some talent coming in the portal, etc. I don't think the win or a loss, certainly you rather win the bowl game, you'll feel better, but I don't think it's going to change the how you remember this coming season either way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that the reps are great. The extra practices that come along with earning that bowl game is going to be a great thing for the team and going forward. But I don't think that anybody is, other than bragging rights, really has anything behind this bowl game. Yes, it'll be great. It's the George O'Leary Bowl, right? Maybe we'll get two teams wearing gold on the field. That would be, my dream.
There you go. There's your goal reference. 11 minutes in, folks. There we go.
But otherwise, I don't know that a win or loss really is going to matter much in 2024. Obviously, you'd rather have a win than a loss, as UCF Football would tell you in their notes. I'm sure we'll see that here in the coming days as they send out their notes for the game. But other than taking home another win and being 7-6 on the season and having a winning record, I'm not sure that it really matters much. National Signing Day or early signing day is certainly much more important in the grand scheme of things.
Well, we have history to prove that. Remember, UCF lost to Arkansas State in the Cure Bowl. Oh my God, what does that mean? The following year they went undefeated, right?
How could I forget?
Anybody remember last year's bowl game? Because I don't. They lost to Duke. Who cares?
Nope.
It's bowl games don't matter. And I'm going to tell you this too, Brian. With the playoff now expanding to 12 next year, I really wonder if people will even care about bowl games in general, what the future holds for that, because I wonder if it's playoff or bust now, if that's the mentality moving forward with the expanded playoff and almost the bowl games. I've always compared these type of bowl games to the NIT in basketball, which some like, some don't. So I wonder if that's the future of bowl games as far as how people feel about it.
I think it's been that way for a while, right? I'm a college football lover. I love to watch college football. I'll put it on at all times, but some people don't really care for the bowl season, right? They say that there's way too many bowls. We shouldn't have this many bowls and they're meaningless. And I don't think you're wrong. I think that CFP is really where all the eyeballs go in the long run. No one's going to be watching the Gasparilla Bowl unless you're a UCF or a Georgia Tech fan. So I don't think it really matters in the long run. But I think we're at that time in our show where we send it back to Adam for a little bit of silly game action. Adam?
Yeah, one might say it's that time again, Brian. Before we get there, I'm really glad you're on the show this week because you are a kind of guy, Brian. I know you like a good party. I know you enjoy a good time with your friends and your family. And if you're thinking about having a party this holiday, Brian, you may want to check out the Sultry Spirit because they can add a touch of magic to your next event. That's right. They will take your party to that next level. Their bartenders specialize in creative twists on classic cocktails. Every sip will be unforgettable. They are a mobile bartending service for all your needs, wedding, corporate event, Christmas party, tailgate, whatever. Their talented bartenders will shake up the perfect drinks and keep the good times flowing. Follow them on Instagram at The Sultry Spirit or give them a call at 941-567-7062. If you tell them you heard about them on the Sons of UCF and around the kingdom, 10% off and a special gift. Again, at Sultry Spirit or 941-567-7062. Take your party to the next level, my friends. All right, Brian, your first time with the silly game portion. And I thought about you as I planned this game out, but this is going to go to Eric first and then go to you next, Brian. Obviously, big game on Friday, Gasparilla Bowl, last game of the year. Eric, I'll start with you. What uniform combo do you want to see UCF wear in the Gasparilla Bowl, Eric?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I knew you were coming with that, of course. And Brian, I know what Brian's going to say. So I'm going to say this. Georgia Tech's going gold. I'm going to say you go in honor of George O'Leary, who is being honored at the game. Maybe a little black and gold and just really throw people off and get everybody all on fire on social media. Just cause a storm.
Do we know, are we the home team?
We are the home team. We are the official home team. Yes.
So theoretically,
we get choice.
We could be wearing colored jerseys as opposed to an away game white jersey.
Right.
Yes.
As much as I would love to see UCF break out gold jerseys, I don't think that they have those waiting in the locker room for the players to throw on. So I'm going to go gold helmet, black jersey, white pants. I think that would be a great combo to break out against Georgia Tech. I would say anthracite because we wore anthracite I guess it wasn't the last time we played them. When we played them on the road at Georgia Tech, we had gold helmets, anthracite.
2020, yeah.
It was a perfect look, I thought. But Terry has said on the anthracite. So much for that.
That 2020 Georgia Tech game, the best game of Josh Seliskar's career. We'll get back to that later. All right, Brian. The fun part about the silly game is you don't get advance notice of what I'm about to ask. So it's the holiday season. This is our last episode before the Christmas holiday. So, Brian, I'll start with you. Any UCF player or coach across any sport right now, if you could get them one Christmas gift, what are you getting and who's it for? You get one Christmas gift to any player, coach, administrator, anybody you want at UCF. What does somebody need that Brian W. Peterson can buy them for Christmas?
I am going to say that I'm going to give a gift of NIL donation to Terry so he can keep his beloved song to play during the what I don't know the name of the song. What's the name of the song?
I Love You, Baby by Frankie Valli. Yes.
There you go. The Frankie Valli song.
Yes.
He's the only one that seems to love it.
So you're going to help Terry out by giving him some money to play that song.
If he brings back gold jerseys.
Okay. All right.
Bribery. We got bribery.
With strings attached. I love it. I love it, Brian.
I'm a politician.
That's fair. That's fair.
Wow. Oh, it's kind of scary, Adam, that you remember that song in like 2 seconds. That was like, is that in your sound
seared? It's seared in my memory.
Very good. I'm going to go a little outside the box, but you're not going to be surprised with this answer. I am going to reward Coach Paul Maloney, UCF softball, more seats in the Plex. Spread it out. We got Oklahoma and Texas hosting. We don't need people sitting in like literally on the floor. Let's get more seats, get more people comfortable, get a big atmosphere out and make some revenue money there in softball. Let's make some money.
That's part of the ambiance, Eric. What are you talking about?
Sitting on the floor. Well,
yeah. I loves that. All right, last one for both of you. We're going to play a quick game of bowl or no bowl. I played this with Mike on the Sons of UCF podcast. I'm going to go one at a time. I'll start with you, Eric. Then I'll go to you, Brian. You get 3 each. I'm going to tell you the name of a bowl game. You tell me if this is a real bowl game being played this year or if I'm making this up. All right, so this is our game. Eric, I'll start with you. Here's the first one for you. Are you prepared for this? Are you ready? I can't wait.
No, I'm not, but we got no choice. We got to go.
It is the Quicken Loans Bowl, Eric. Quicken Loans Bowl. Is that a real bowl or a fake bowl?
I think that's a bowl.
You are incorrect, my friend. There is no Quicken Loans Bowl this year. I apologize. I apologize. Brian W. Peterson, ready? The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Is that real or is that fake?
There's no way you would have made that up, so I'm going to say yes.
Brian W. Peterson is on the board. 1-0. Brian W. Peterson. Way to go, Brian Peterson. All right, I'm going to go with this one, Elo. The roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl.
Oh, boy. It used to be, but I'm going to say no. No bowl.
That's incorrect. It is still the roof claim hanging in there. Still hanging in there.
Florida. Yeah. The Cows are playing in that game, aren't they?
In an upset. All right, Brian, here we go. The Poinsettia Bowl.
Poinsettia Bowl. That's a bowl.
Not anymore. It's not, my friend. not a bowl game this year. It was indeed a bowl game in years past, but not anymore. All right, Elo, last one for you. The John Deere Pinstripe Bowl. John Deere Pinstripe Bowl.
I am going to say no, because that makes in Yankee Stadium, you're going to have John Deere?
You're saying no, that's not a real bowl?
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
That is correct. It's the Bad Boy Mowers pinstripe. I'm not sure if that's better. I'm not sure if that's better or not. All right, here we go, Brian W. Peterson. Last one. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. You're an accountant. This should be easy money for you. The Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
A layup. Come on. For you.
Yes.
That is correct. Brian W. Peterson with 2, Eric Lopez with 1. Brian W. Peterson knows bowls better than Elo. I'm not sure what to do with that, Brian, but congratulations. Adios.
Wow. Tax Slayers. All right. Well, the question is, does this last silly game segment prove there's too many bowl games, Brian? Well, one person that maybe has a solution to that is George O'Leary, who was on the exclusive interview with Sons of UCF talking about what he would do to bowl season and the bowl games. He thinks you should have 8 wins minimum to be eligible for a bowl game. What do you think of George O'Leary talking about how you need 8 wins to play in a bowl game? And is there too many bowls?
You know, I listened to that interview. Great interview. Adam and Mike have this way of bringing out George O'Leary and like lightening him up and getting him to answer these questions I didn't think he'd ever answer. And while I agree with George, I think that maybe they could adjust how teams are, becoming bowl eligible. Maybe 6-6 is a little flexible, a little too flexible for some of these bowls, and maybe more wins should be required. I don't know that necessarily 8 wins is where I would land. Maybe let's compromise. Let's say it's 6, at least 6 wins now. George says 8. Maybe bump it up to 7 wins, right? He alluded to the fact that teams used to play less games, therefore 6 wins was harder to achieve many years ago. And it's gotten to the point where we're letting 5 and 7 teams into some of these bowl games when there's not enough teams to fill the schedule. So maybe we bump it up to 7 and we say, look, 7 wins minimum to make it to a bowl, make the games a little more competitive, a little more enticing, perhaps for those that don't really care about bowl season other than the playoff. I'd be okay with that.
I think 7's a good number. I could settle on 7 and 5. I like his idea. I like what he had to say. And I think there's some validity because keep in mind, 6-6, but a lot of teams are going to play FCS teams and things like that. I like 7 or 8. That would create some more urgency on bowl games. That's what we grew up on, Brian, was these bowl games matter. You felt like you were getting quality matchups. Now it seems like everybody's ducking everybody, and it's 6-6 against 5 and 7 teams. And yeah, I think that could bring some interest back into bowl games. If that's the goal, is to save the bowl games, they're going to have to do something like that. But they're never going to eliminate bowl games as much as we would like, right?
Well, they eliminated the Poinsettia Bowl, or I guess it's no longer the Poinsettia Bowl, or it's got a new sponsor or whatever it is. Yeah, I would be okay. I think 7 would be a fair number, but I think you're right, Elo. They're never going to get rid of some of these bowl games, right? They're going to be around forever. And
how many bowl games would? Well, that's the other question. Maybe how many bowl games would you be a cap off if you were in charge? How many bowl games would you cap it? I think 25 bowl games would be just about right. Like that's 50 teams. You're a top 50 team. Probably have to have a good record. 7. I think that's a good number. It's kind of like what it was in the late 80s, 90s.
That's fair. I mean, I'm a college football guy though, right? So give me all the college football I can take. So I'm okay with the number of bowl games that they have. I realize I'm the minority on that, but 25 games would be more than sufficient, I think. And keeping along with this theme of bowl games, Elo, who are going back to the Gasparilla Bowl, who are some of the players that you're looking forward to seeing play in the Gasparilla Bowl? Is there anybody you think perhaps needs to step up? Are we going to have any players opt out of the bowl game that maybe need to have some of the younger guys fill into? Who do you have your eye on?
Well, as of, knock on wood, as of now, most of the guys on both teams are going to play, which is a rarity in these bowl games. I mean, look at the Orange Bowl, Brian. There's nobody playing on either side between Florida State and Georgia. I think I heard where Florida State might be down 25 scholarship players when it's all said and done. Whereas UCF, Georgia Tech doesn't have that issue. Georgia Tech's without their best pass rusher. UCF's without, obviously, Thornton. I want to see R.J. Harvey. I know it sounds redundant. I'm curious how he finishes off this bowl game. Is this his last game? Is he staying? I'm kind of curious to see how he plays. But I'm with you. I'd like to see some young guys that maybe we haven't seen as much get more playing time. Because, again, I think it's an exhibition. Let these guys play. They're going to be a big part of next year.
It's funny you mentioned R.J. Harvey, who we're not sure yet what he's going to be doing for the 2024 season, and if he's going to declare for the draft, is he going to opt out of the bowl? He has not said that is the case, so all indications are he's going to play. He posted on social media today a picture of the Knights bus that looked like it had a little bit of a tire issue. Looks like they had a blown tire on their way to Tampa, but there was a picture by R.J. Harvey of the blown out tire for the bus, which tells me he's at least traveling to the game. So I'm expecting to see R.J. Harvey play at this point until UCF tells us otherwise. That'd be great for the team. Get R.J. Harvey out on the field. Let's win this game and let's see what happens in 2024.
Did you just break some news here? Are we burying the lead? We had a tire blown and the bus ride. What are we doing? That's not a good omen. What are we doing?
Breaking news. Yeah, that's not a good omen, but it is a good omen that RJ Hart is potentially going to be playing in the game. So I'll take it. There's that adversity that Gus was talking about, right?
That's
Team
right.
dealing with a blown tire on the bus. It's all right.
Yeah, overcome a tire. Good Lord. Unbelievable. All right, let's turn it. Believe it or not, there is other sports going on at UCF. Men's basketball. Right. You ever heard of men's basketball? Yeah, they're playing 10 games into the season. They're coming off a 74-51 win against Maine on Monday night. They'll be back home on Thursday night against Florida A&M. Former night assistant Craig Brown, by the way, on the FAMU staff. Tip-off 7 o'clock. Check your radio stations as well. You can dial in and listen to a certain voice on this show. And the game's on ESPN+. But give me, Brian, my question is, what's your thoughts on UCF basketball 10 games in now?
I think that they've played up to expectations so far, right? We've seen that they've got the talent necessary to win. Out of conference so far, they've played pretty well. Of course, the big question will be once they get into the Big 12 conference games, how are those going to shake out? One of the questions that was thrown at some of us by Adam was, are they going to get more wins, men's basketball? Are they going to get more wins in conference than UCF football did? That's remains to be seen, but I've not been disappointed with what I've seen. Obviously, they're fighting the injury bug right now. They lost that close one to Ole Miss, played well enough to win the game, came up just a little bit short. They bounced back against Maine, of course. But I'm really curious to see how they go into conference play and see how that shakes out.
You see this, Brian? This is a long sheet of notes I have in preparation for Thursday. Here's what I will tell you. This team is in the top 40 in field goal percentage defense, 39% against. Turnovers forced. Nearly 16 turnovers forced a game. They're also top 45 in offensive rebounds. I think they're long, lengthy. They also play in a strength of numbers, Johnny Dawkins had said. That is encouraging. I think their goal is that they believe their 1 through 15 will beat probably the 6 or 7 top 6, 7 players on a given Big 12 team. That's the goal there. My concern is the shooting. They're 200 in the 200s in field goal percentage shooting, free throw percentage shooting, and three-point shooting. That's got to get better. One encouraging sign is they might be getting C.J. Walker soon. He's social media teased that perhaps a return soon. That would help. But they're physical. They're going to have to win with defense and with depth and getting production off the bench.
Yeah, their three-point shooting is definitely what hurt them in that Ole Miss loss. I don't think anybody can argue that. If they were able to get that percentage of three-pointers up a little bit higher, they probably could have won that game. But speaking of men's hoops, why don't we talk about women's hoops, who actually just had their first loss of the season against Florida Atlantic. Now, we're not talking about the Florida Atlantic men's basketball team, which is in the top 15 in the country. We're talking about the women's program, who I believe were 5-5 coming into the UCF
FAU,
arena.
yeah, FAU is 5-5,
yeah. Not a great look for the women's basketball team to drop one. What are your thoughts, Elo? Do they have any chance of running up the score in the Big 12? How do you see this team shaking out as the season progresses?
No, I think they got even more concern, because the Big 12 in women's basketball is just as deep and strong as the men's. They're not as high profile. You don't have a Kansas type, but Texas is probably the favorites in the league. Here's the thing with women's basketball. We don't know how good this team is. We think they're improved from last year, but they played not a strong schedule. You realize they have only played 2 games so far in their schedule against teams that are 100 or better in the net rankings. They have played 0 games against the top 50 net. That is going to change drastically when we get to conference play. So I'm not sure. FAU is 210 in the net, not a great loss. Again, I know what Coach Messer is trying to do. She's trying to build confidence, build something here and get some confidence with some wins. But this team hasn't been tested, and we won't know much until we get them to see how they measure up in conference. It reminds me a little bit of volleyball, Brian, when they hit that gauntlet in volleyball against the top 25 teams, and how they fared would determine how the postseason would go. They struggle. I think they lost 10 of their last 11. My concern is we might see something similar with women's hoops.
Elo, I think you pointed out to Trace last week on Around the Kingdom that the UCF women's basketball strength of schedule is near the bottom of the
Yes.
bucket, right? I think you said that there's only 4 or 5 teams that have
Yes.
a worse strength of schedule than the women's basketball team. I'm really curious to see if they can play up, and take advantage of that schedule being a little bit lighter and easier, perhaps. But I think you're right. I think the Big 12 schedule is going to be a gauntlet for them to have to run through, and hopefully Coach Messer has that team ready to go when it comes time for conference play to roll around.
She knows that league well from her time as an assistant at Baylor. All right, it's time to see how we messed up, if at all. I doubt it. We'll find out. Adam Eaton can confirm. How
yeah.
is you, Adam?
Clean show overall. A couple of things just to add some context. Recruiting class, Ely, you mentioned it. Right now, 33rd in the nation, according to 24/7 Sports, 28th in the composite. The top overall recruit right now, Frankie Arthur, running back, 4-star player, rated 91 overall. You were talking about Oregon. They also signed Dante Moore as well as Dylan Gabriel at the quarterback room. Our quarterbacks, interestingly enough, right now, 24/7, which I don't know if they've updated it since, but Riley Trujillo listed as an 87 overall. EJ Colson listed as an 86. So as of right now, there maybe need to be an update there, but EJ Colson behind Riley Trujillo. Timmy McClain, for context, 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his limited time as UCF's quarterback. There are currently 42 bowl games, by the way. So you guys are chopping off almost 20 bowl games from the schedule. Currently 42 bowl games. And as it stands right now tonight, Elo, 15 Florida State players are not playing in the Orange Bowl.
Whew.
15,
That's a lot.
Crazy.
That's a lot. Thanks, Adam. One last thing. Alec Holler, one more year? Alec Holler spoke to the press on Monday and teased a little bit about perhaps having another year of eligibility, a medical year, 7th year. At first, they thought it was a joke, but now there's talk that's not a joke. Why is this so complicated? Why is there a mystery? We don't know if Alec Holler, he probably isn't going to come back, but this could be his last game. That's how he's treated it. Brian, would you welcome Alec Holler back for a year if the option was there?
Of course, bring him back. He helped us secure that last war on I-4 against South Florida, against the Cows, right? With that amazing catch on the sideline. You can't buy experience, Elo, right? So if we're going to have the ability to bring somebody back like Alec Holler, who's got that experience and can, be a leader for the team, I would welcome him back with open arms. I think you're right, though. I don't see him coming back for a 7th year. Stranger things have happened, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him back, but I also don't expect him to come back.
I don't expect it. It's fitting his career would end on the same stadium where he made the catch against USF.
Great point.
Talked about at Raymond James. What a way to end it. What a way to end this show. Thank you, Brian W. Peterson, for filling in for Trace, who's on vacation with family time. Thanks to Adam Eaton. Make sure you check out all your Sons of UCF content. The podcast is out. Check out the George O'Leary exclusive interview that Mike and Adam had. And for much more of their coverage as they get ready for Gasparilla Bowl, check out Brian's reading as articles as well throughout on Sons of UCF. All of us, enjoy the bowl game. This has been Around the Kingdom. Eric Lopez saying good night and charge on.